What is up, guys? We are back. It's your boy Effie with Any Action Sportscast, here to go over UFC Vegas 95, Marcin Tybura versus Serghei Spivac 2. We have a heavyweight rematch headlining this card, and we're back at the UFC Apex this week, but we only have 10 fights on the entire card, so it's going to be a very short card, only 10 fights to bet on, and we're coming off a pretty good week, man. We had 13 fights last week. Our picks went 11-2, but somehow we still lost money, man. I went down minus 1.03 units. I went 11-2 on my picks, but I still managed to bet on both losers somehow, but it's all good. We're going to bounce back. I feel really good about my spots this week. I feel really good about my picks, so without any further ado, let's get right into the fights. Up first, we have Stephanie Luciano taking on Talita Alencar. Luciano comes in with a 5-1-1 record, and she is currently minus 170 on the money line, while Alencar comes in with a 5-0-1 record, and she is currently plus 140 on the money line. And this is a rematch, man.
Yeah, boy, the rematch!
A rematch to start the card. These girls actually fought on Dana White Contender Series, and it went to a draw. Neither girl won. And what's interesting about that fight is, if you look at the money line, Alencar was actually minus 200 in that fight. So now she comes in a rematch here in a fight that went to a draw, and she is plus 140. So the line completely is flipped. But I am going with the favorite. I'm picking Luciano to win this fight. I think that she actually wins a decision in this fight. Because to me, man, I am just not impressed by Talita Alencar, right? So I know she has very good jiu-jitsu, right? A 6-time IBJJF world champion in the gi. Like, she knows what she's doing on the mat, but you wouldn't be able to tell the way she grappled against Luciano in that fight on Dana White Contender Series. Like, there is times where, yes, she took down Luciano twice, both times in that first round, but they were actually from like mistimed kicks. Luciano actually defended like 13 or 14 takedowns in that fight, man. She actually was sprawled pretty well in that fight. I mean, I know a lot of the takedowns came in that third round from Alencar, and they were just super slow by the time the third round came. She was completely gassed out. She had a huge adrenaline dump in that fight, and she looked horrible in that third round. And to me, man, you can clearly see the size disadvantage that she's going to have if you watch that fight. I mean, Luciano's clearly the better striker, has a way better jab. Well, she's able to score on points way more effectively on the feet than Alencar will be in this fight. And Alencar is just going to be shooting takedowns like she was in that very first fight over and over and over again. Because if she doesn't get them, she's going to get back up, move a little bit, circle a little bit, and then dive again at the ankles again. And it's kind of crazy because at times, Alencar was exhausted in that very first fight, and she was still kind of getting deep on those takedowns. But eventually, man, she just got way too tired. I do expect her cardio to be better in this fight. But Luciano's a younger fighter, the bigger fighter, and clearly the better striker when it's on the feet. And I feel like you already fought the girl once. You know how effective her takedowns were. I just don't think that she's going to be able to get those takedowns in 2 out of 3 rounds. I think that this is going to go to decision as long as she doesn't get submitted by Alencar in this fight. But I mean, like, for as much as you want to talk about her jiu-jitsu, a 6-time IBJJF champion, right? I mean, in that second round against Luciano, she has mount. She has mount with 2 minutes to work, right? The 2 minutes left in the round, she has mount. Like 50 seconds later, she's on bottom. She gets reversed from Luciano in that fight a couple times, actually. Luciano showed, to me, good fight IQ. She showed very good composure in moments where they were grappling in those scrambles, and she didn't panic. So I think that she's only going to be improving. I think that she's going to win this fight, and I think that she wins that fight via decision. Up next, we have an absolute banger of a fight between Youssef Zalal and Jarno Errens. I am pumped for this fight. I'm super excited for this one. Zalal comes in with a 14-5-1 record. He is currently minus 525 on the money line. Huge favorite. While Jarno Errens comes in with a 14-5-1 record as well, and he is currently plus 360 on the money line. So right away, guys, that's insane to me, man. I've seen this line climb throughout the week, and it's only Wednesday. Everybody's laying, parlays on Zalal, laying Zalal big. And holy smokes, man. Like, I get it. I'm picking Zalal to win this fight, but at this point, it's dogger pass, man. There's no way I can put Zalal on any parlays at this point. I'm priced out. Minus 525 is absolutely insane. I say it every week. That's absolutely crazy, guys. And especially because I don't think skill set wise they're that far apart. So I'll start with Jarno Errens. And this leads me into my little quick rant about UFC Fight Pass. I use UFC Fight Pass and ESPN Plus to watch tape on these fighters. Like, I like to go back and watch their fights throughout their whole career and try to watch their fights and take notes about how they fight, and make bets from there. And UFC Fight Pass didn't have like 5 fights for this card. We'll talk about it later with some other fighters, but it was so frustrating to watch tape on some of these guys, and one of them was Jarno Errens. Jarno Errens' most recent fight against Steve, which he won, wasn't on Fight Pass. It wouldn't work for me, so I do not have notes or anything on Jarno's most recent fight, but I did watch the rest of his career. I was able to get those fights, but that was frustrating. And Youssef Zalal's most recent fight as well against Billy Quarantillo, I couldn't get that fight either, and I had to make a tweet about it, asking people like, "Hey man, is anyone else like getting issues trying to watch these fights?" And shout out to Uncle Weezy, he DM'd me a link for Zalal versus Quarantillo, so I actually was able to watch Zalal's fight, most recent fight, And, that was a huge help. So shout out to Uncle Weezy. And UFC Fight Pass and ESPN Plus totally screwed me this week. It's absolutely crazy how little fights they actually had on their files. And so, yeah, man, I just want to say that sucked. That totally sucked. So, yeah, man, this fight, though, should be an absolute banger. And like I said, man, it's 525 plus 360. I don't see it that wide. I see this as a way closer fight than that. I'll start with Jarno Errens. So I couldn't watch his last fight. It was super frustrating. But watching everything else, he's decent, man. He's not bad at all. It was a very bad look against William Gomis because he was getting taken down and held. In that fight, he made William Gomis look like Khabib in that fight, just the way that he was able to get controlled. And his get-up ability wasn't great in that fight, I'll be honest. Like, he was getting passed, he was getting held. But even in that fight and then the Choi fight right after, he lost both those fights. He had a pretty rough run to start the UFC career so far. Like, even in both those fights, in round 3, Gomis and Choi are both, like, circling away. Like, I don't say panicked or anything, but they do not look good. They're the ones getting pressed. That's one thing I like about Jarno Errens. He has a very good pace to his fights. He is coming forward. He's pushing the pace in a lot of these fights. He has very good pressure in these fights. And on the feet, I don't see Zalal being a minus 525 favorite. Like, I do understand that Zalal obviously is a better striker, way better kicks, whereas Jarno Errens seems to me more of a striker with his hands. Zalal likes to circle outside, man. He's a sniper. He's very sharp, very quick. And he was landing everything at will against Billy Quarantillo in his last fight, man. Everything was landing. He could not miss. His accuracy was on point in that fight. His reads were on point. His distance management was on point. And that right hand was on point, man. He landed it over and over and over again on Billy Quarantillo. But I will say, in that fight, to me, Billy looked horrible. Billy looked bad for as much as Youssef Zalal looked good. But I will give him credit, man. This is Zalal's second UFC run in the UFC. He had a quick run where he kind of fizzled out. He had some tough competition. I think he went 3-3 or 4-3, and then he got cut. So this is his second run. But it's funny because you would think that he went to the regionals and then won all these fights and now he's back in the UFC. But he won all those fights, which he did do. But he won all those fights in the same night. He had a boxing fight, a wrestling match, a kickboxing fight, and then an MMA fight in the same day. But he came back against Billy Q, looked good against Billy Q, and he's a very good fighter. And the reason why I am picking him to win this fight, I'm picking him via third round submission, is because the takedowns, man. If you watch his fight against Damon Blackshear, his entries were good, man. The grappling in that fight was really good. He did lose those first 2 rounds. He was on his way to lose, in my opinion, but then he put it on Damon Blackshear in that third round, almost finished him in that third round. Very good kicks, like I said. What I really like about Zalal's kicks, that he can go low, he can go to the body, and he can also go high. He's very quick. Like I said, I do believe that he will have the footwork to circle outside in this fight and pick apart Jarno Errens from the outside, because if Jarno Errens pressures him and gets him backed up along the cage, in that warning track, this could get very ugly, and this could look very much more so closer than minus 525 indicates. So I'm picking Zalal. I'm picking Zalal via third round submission, and I do think it comes to the fact that we've seen over and over and over again that Jarno Errens, his takedown defense isn't that good. It's been exposed by inferior grapplers, in my opinion, than someone like Youssef Zalal. And Zalal is still young in his career. He's ascending. He's still improving. But I'm not counting out Jarno Errens in this fight, guys. I don't think he's going to get smoked and lose every single second of this fight. I don't see that happening. I think he's going to be able to put up a good fight. And man, even in that fight against Troy, he was, in my opinion, down 2 rounds. In the very dying seconds of the fight, a fight you would assume he's going to lose, in about 10 seconds, the clap's going off, and he's throwing up arm bars, man. He almost gets a 6 submission at the very end of the fight. I mean, he's going to be fighting for your money. So give me Zalal third round submission, because I do think ultimately the speed on his entries, the speed on his takedowns will be too much for Jarno Errens, and I do think he has enough output and volume and good enough striking defense to stay safe on the feet, even though he will be the one getting pressed, be the one circling outside pretty much the entire fight. So give me Zalal, third round submission. Up next, we have a heavyweight fight between Jhonata, Diniz, and Karl Williams. Diniz comes in undefeated with a 7-0 record. He is currently plus 175, while Karl Williams comes in with a 10-1 record, and he is currently minus 210. And I'll be honest, man, I thought this line was going to be wider. I thought a lot of people would be laying money and pushing that line on Karl Williams throughout the week. But we're on Wednesday, and that line still hasn't moved pretty much at all. If anything, money's coming in on Diniz, and I don't get it, man. I'm going with Karl Williams in this fight. I actually think that he has a chance to get his first finish in the UFC in this fight. And I want to start with Diniz. So, again, UFC Fight Pass totally screwed me. In his last fight, he got a second-round knockout win against Austin Lane. Austin Lane, to me, is not very good. He's not that high level of a fighter, no offense. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I don't rate him very highly. And so he, got that second-round knockout. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm about to watch this fight, and it won't work on Fight Pass. And then, so I have to look up the stats. I'm like, all right, how did this fight play out? And it looks like Lane was winning that fight up until he got knocked out in the second round. And from what I can gather from people talking to me about the fight, is that Lane just gassed out, had a huge dump, looked terrible in that second round, and got knocked out. And I believe it, because if you watched Jhonata Diniz fight, he is a slow, unathletic looking, not fast striker that's powerful. This guy is super, super powerful, has crazy power in his hands. But I gotta say, guys, let's look at the screen. I'm gonna pull up his Tapology. This is him right here, 7-0, right? Austin Lane, KO round 2. Then he's on Contender Series against Eduardo Neves. And for the first, 30 seconds of that fight, he's looking terrible. Like, he's not doing anything. He's just walking forward, kind of making reads, kind of feinting, and he's not doing anything. This guy, Eduardo Neves, was the one, looking good against Diniz, and I was like, what's going on? Like, when does Diniz finally do something? And then finally, when they do get in an exchange, he hurts Neves really bad and ends up getting that knockout. And to me, Neves is not a very good athlete, not a good fighter, and I wasn't really that impressed with that performance, right?
I'm not impressed by your performance.
And so and then after that, look at this dude. He beat Rodrigo Duarte first round retirement with 4 minutes and 17 seconds. Bro, this dude looks like if you had a leaky pipe in your faucet and you called the plumber, he would show up, dude. This guy looked straight up off the street when he went to fight Diniz, man. It was crazy. It was so funny when they pan from one guy to the other, like when they do the intro. It's like, you ready to fight? You ready to fight? They show that guy, Roberto Duarte, and then they show Diniz, and it's just hilarious. Like, what are we doing? Like, I don't want to say fights are corrupt or anything, but what the hell was that? The other dude looked like a straight someone that's never fought before in their life, and it's kind of funny because he's 11-7. 11-9 as a pro, and that's who he's fighting before he gets the call to the UFC. So, Roberto Duarte, what are we doing? So, for me, my takeaway is that Jhonata Diniz's level of competition isn't the best. I understand that he was a kickboxer, a pro kickboxer for 10 years before making the jump to MMA. So he's clearly a dangerous striker. Like, I understand. But apparently he's getting taken down by guys like Austin Lane. I'm like, all right, so he has never been tested by a wrestler. He's never been put on his back, from what I can tell, because he's just going out there and knocking dudes out. Like, he just circles guys into his left hand, and then he knocks them out. So, I don't know how good his wrestling is. And that brings me to Karl Williams, man. I do like Karl Williams. He's one of, the 8 guys above 205 and in heavyweight that can use their offensive wrestling to win fights. His hands have actually improved as well throughout his UFC run. If you look at the tape from when he first started in the UFC to now, his most recent fights, his hands are looking way better. He used to throw wide, slow shots. Now he's throwing straight, quick shots that land on his target way more often. I will say, the thing that worries me in this fight is that every single round starts on the feet, right? And Diniz has about 45 seconds in every single round to knock out Karl Williams. We saw it against Tafa. We saw it against, Bresky, where Williams is winning the fight, right? And then when the round starts, when they get separated, when they're at distance, he'll get hit by that overhand, rear hand. And he also has I tweeted about this week. He has a really bad habit of just, getting separation and then backing up, backpedaling across the octagon to reset. And then once he resets, then they start fighting again. He start throwing hands. And it's really weird to watch. So Karl Williams, even though he does have that bad habit of circling away from the fighter, just straight up, not even circling, but backing up straight backwards against fighters, it's very weird to watch. Even though he does do that, I do think that he's going to be able to get Diniz down over and over and over again in this fight. And that's what's kind of weird about Karl Williams. For as much grappling control in top time in these fights, he doesn't really have that much of a dangerous ground and pound skill set, and he definitely doesn't have any submissions, man. This guy is not even trying to submit people. He's just kind of laying on guys. He's kind of laying on guys and winning minutes that way, doing enough work to not have the ref pull him off. But I will say, when he does land some shots on top, they look like they hurt, man. It's kind of crazy. Just the output's not there. He doesn't throw enough, when he does have top control, at least in my opinion, that I would like to see. But I will say, I think Karl Williams whoops this guy. I don't think Diniz is very good, man. I think he's kind of bad. Like I said, if he's just a one-dimensional striker, all it takes is Karl Williams about 45 seconds to get this guy down every single round. And I think he's going to do it, man. So give me Karl Williams to win that fight. I'm actually going to go with a second-round ground and pound finish. I think that he gets him down, controls him for that first round. Diniz comes out, and he's just not, the same fighter that he would be in that first round. The cardio is going to dip. And I'm giving it to Karl Williams, man. Give me Karl Williams to win that fight, second-round ground and pound. And up next, we have a very good fight again, this time between Toshiomi Kazama and Charalampos Grigoriou. Kazama comes in with a 10-4 record, currently the underdog at plus 210, while Grigoriou comes in with a 8-4 record, currently minus 260 on the money line. I'm going with the favorite in this fight. I actually feel pretty good about Grigoriou in this fight. I think he's safe every area really in this fight, because Kazama is going to want to grapple, man. He wants to grapple guys. He wants to out-wrestle them, control them, and submit them. That's how he fights. But if you watch his 2 UFC fights so far, he's gotten absolutely destroyed. He's gotten finished twice in a row, knocked out bad, viciously, kind of both times. And it's kind of funny if he's I don't want to talk bad about the guy, but it's kind of funny to go out to see him fight, and he's just fighting crazy. He's just fighting reckless, throwing crazy strikes, missing by a lot. And he got finished twice. Not the best tape I've seen for sure, but the fights that he is winning, he's out grappling guys. He's able to get guys down, really good takedowns, really good speed on his wrestling. But I do worry that he's not going to be able to do that to Grigoriou. Grigoriou is a very good grappler, even though he tried to grapple Chad Ehlinger in his last fight for some reason, like over and over again, and kept getting denied. He won that first round, but totally faded after that very first round. And the thing that cost him in that fight, which Kazama might be able to take advantage of, was that lead leg kick, man. He could not check a kick to save his life. He got that lead leg chewed up, and he was super immobile after that. I feel like it's super hard to grapple if your lead leg's gone. Like, you have one leg, like, how much can you push off, I mean, how can you possibly feel good about Kazama? I don't think that he has put anything on tape that makes me want to put money on him. Like, if anything, from what I've seen on tape with this guy, is he's not very good. So I'm going with Grigoriou. I don't think Grigoriou is like some sort of future champion or anything as well. He does have dangerous hands though. Like, it's funny, if you watch him fight against Chad Ehlinger, you would think he's some sort of like just pure wrestler, right? Because that's what he was trying to do in that fight. And I really think it was a weird game for him because he's a decent enough striker in the own right. Like, I don't foresee him having a huge discrepancy in any area this fight takes place. I don't think that he's going to be outstruck. I don't think he's going to be outgrappled. I think he's going to win every single area this fight takes place. I'm kind of low on both these guys, honestly, but I am higher on Grigoriou as a fighter than I am on Kazama. Give me Grigoriou. I'm going to go with a Grigoriou third round ground and pound finish. Up next, we have Yana Santos taking on Chelsea, the legend Chandler. Yana Santos comes in with a 14-8 record, currently minus 150. She is the favorite, while Chandler comes in with a 6-2 record, currently plus 125. I called her the legend because she has the most legendary MMA clip of all time. She was getting beat up in a fight against Norma Dumas, and out of nowhere, dude, she just turns around and like runs straight at the camera and tries to like run out the octagon pretty much. That's like what's going to follow her for her whole career. And I don't know, I just think it's kind of funny. But yeah, not a lot on this fight either, man. Don't want to spend too much time on it. I'm going with I really want to pick Chandler, dude. Oh man, but she's just so bad on the feet. I'm going with Santos. No. Oh man, I'm torn. I'm going with Santos. Skill set wise, Chelsea Chandler is just big, man. She just takes you down, and if she can't pass your guard, if she can't get on top, she's pretty much, not good anywhere. Like on their feet, she's slow. I don't think her striking is the best, but she's just physically imposing. She is big, man. In the clinch, she can throw you down. She can trip you because she's just so big. Like her judo trips are good. I will give her that, but I think that Santos will be prepared, man. Santos has enough, output on the feet. I think that she has enough good takedown defense to win this fight, keep it upright, and then win minutes on the feet that way. So give me Santos to be the better, cleaner, crisper striker in this fight, and as long as she doesn't get, taken down and mounted or get put in half guard, like I think that she's going to win this fight. So give me Santos via decision to win that fight. Up next, we have Christian Gutierrez versus Quang Lee. Gutierrez comes in with a 26-2 record, currently minus 650, oh my god, on the money line, while Quang Lee comes in undefeated prospect on short notice here with an 8-0 record, currently plus 425. Now I have watched absolutely 0 seconds of tape on Quang Lee, so I'm not going to comment on his skill set. I know that he is taking this fight on short notice. I mean, Chris Gutierrez is good. Like, I like him as a fighter, very good, super heavy, dangerous leg kicks. He's one of those guys that's able to like chop you down and then get like standing TKOs because you just compromise on your feet. You can't put any weight on your feet. Like, he'll go after your lead leg really bad. But he's a good grappler as well. Good back takes, good control, good body triangle when he gets you down. And on the feet, I like him. Like, I think he has very good speed, very good combinations, dangerous power, good experience. I like him as a fighter. So this guy, I don't know anything about Quang Lee, but it's definitely a tough test for your first UFC fight on short notice. Finding someone like Chris Gutierrez, in all likelihood, guys, like he's probably going to finish Quang Lee. like it's tough to say that without watching the guy fight for any sort of time. But if just the situation, like just the way you look at it, but what's the point, man? 650. Like I'm not laying it. Like no one's going to parlay that. Like why would you even bother doing that? You're going to have to look at a method of victory, an over under, and without watching tape on it, like I can't really say what Quang Lee does good. I have no idea how he's winning his fights. I don't want to be a guy that just wiki caps and look at like his record and stuff and then say, oh, this guy just submits people, blah blah blah. Like I want to watch him fight, so I still got to watch him fight. I don't have any tape on this guy. Give me Chris Gutierrez, I guess, first round, knockout. And in this fight, I did watch a good amount of tape. We have Danny Barlow, oh my god, minus 400, versus Nikolay Veretennikov. Danny Barlow comes in undefeated. This guy's super hot prospect in the UFC, 8-0, and he's minus 400 on the money line. Nikolay comes in with a 12-4 record, currently plus 300. Now, this was the very first fight that I taped in the entire week. Once I finished filming last week, I looked into the card, and this is the first one that caught my eye. And Danny Barlow was minus 250 on the money line, right? So now he's minus 400. A ton of line movement, going in the way of Danny Barlow. But it's funny because on Thursday or Friday of last week, I was texting my buddies. I was like, why isn't Barlow minus 300? Like, he should definitely be a huge favorite. The other guy sucks. I'm talking about Nikolay. Like, Nikolay is not good in my opinion. I do not like this guy. And sure enough, now he's minus 400. But I thought it was going to be like, had a good angle or something. But I didn't lay it. I should have laid it right then and there when I had the line available, because now he's minus 400 and I totally missed the boat, man. I don't place my bets until later in the week most of the time, and by now the line's completely gone, and that really burned me because I did think that Barlow should have been a huge favorite, and now he's even a bigger favorite than what I thought he should have been. Now it's almost to the point where it's dog or pass, because minus 400, man. What are we doing? This line is crazy, man. I'd rather play, a knockout prop or something, because Danny Barlow is dangerous, man. This guy is a very dangerous left hand. They call him, left-handed God, sickest nickname in the UFC. But he's smart, man. And what I really like about Danny Barlow is his speed, man. This guy is dangerous on the feet, and he is freaking fast, dude. Really good counters. He's actually more comfortable, in my opinion, circling backward and waiting for a counter, waiting for you to crash in with your head up, and he'll just take your head off, really. But he's good, man. Very athletic, good physical frame for the division, and he is, like I said, very dangerous on the feet. With him, it's just about like what happens if he gets put on his back for extended minutes of time. How will he look then? And I trust him not to, man. I trust him to get up, because when I watched Nikolay fight, man, oh my God, I put in all caps in my notes, mid. This dude is mid, bro. Nikolay is mid. He's a decent striker. He's a decent grappler. He has a bad clinch game, bad top control when he does get you down. He's slow on the feet. He has a good right hand to left hook. And it's funny because I actually tweeted about this. I was watching tape on this guy, and he has all these finishes, right? A ton of knockouts, credit to him or anything. But oh my goodness, dude, who is this guy fighting? Like, I don't think that his level of competition outside the UFC is that good. We did see him on Contender Series, and he fought a really good fighter against Michael Morales. But man, like, other than that, he's fighting, lower level guys. I'm not impressed by the guy he's finishing. And I actually tweeted about it earlier, where I was like, man, this guy has a really good right hand to left hook. He loves to get his guys circling to his left hand, away from his power hand. He's right-handed. He's orthodox, so the guys are going to circle to the left. And he's good at throwing that right hand and then having you be open for that left hook. He's put down multiple guys with that same combo. And I actually tweeted this. I was like, man, this is kind of crazy. This guy has a really good right hand to left hook. And then he knocks it. I'm watching tape, and he knocks the guy out like 25 seconds later. It was actually crazy. But I think Danny Barlow sleeps this guy. I think Danny Barlow absolutely wrecks this guy, because for as much as Nikolay will probably in theory want to grapple in this fight, for one, he's on short notice, and for two, I don't think his cardio is that good to begin with. And I don't think he's going to have the cardio to grapple Danny Barlow for 2 out of 3 rounds for 10 minutes in this fight. I don't see it happening. I think that Danny Barlow will get separation. He will fight the wrist. He will get up. He will, break the hands and get out. And then from there, I think that he's going to put it on Nikolay, man. Nikolay, he's fighting lower-level guys, in my opinion. He's looking good doing it. Yeah, like I said, he's a very dangerous left hook, and he's pretty good with his hands, decent power, but I just don't see where he's that great anywhere. Whereas Danny Barlow, I'm looking at a guy that, is going to be in the top 15 one day, in the top 10 one day maybe. Like, he's a very good prospect, and in my opinion, a little bit green still. Like, he's still young in his career, and he's only beginning better. So give me Danny Barlow, man. Give me Danny Barlow, second-round knockout. Up next, we have the co-main event now. Damon Jackson taking on Chepe Mariscal. Damon Jackson comes in with a 23-6-1 record, currently plus 190 on the money line, while Chepe Mariscal comes in with a 16-6 record, currently minus 235 on the money line. Mariscal comes in as a favorite, and a bigger favorite than I thought he would. I did think that he would be the favorite in this fight. I'm picking Chepe to win this fight, but the one thing that worries me is Damon's grappling, man. I actually do really respect his grappling power, or like abilities. He's able to take the backs, able to get the body triangle, and he's one of those guys where if he gets that body triangle on you, he's gonna win the round. He's not gonna get out of it. It's just his frame, right? He has super long limbs, and once he gets that leg wrapped up on you, it's hard to separate. So the back take is definitely worrisome in this fight, but Chepe, like, he has very good striking. He has very good power. Well, not very good. He has good power. But Damon has a funny frame for the division. We've seen him get hurt multiple times in the UFC. We saw Ilya Topuria absolutely clobber him. But that's the champion, man. We saw Dan Ige, crack him as well. But Dan Ige is a top 15 guy. Like, those losses, those times where I'm seeing Damon Jackson get absolutely rocked, those are against good high-level competition. It's hard to hold it against them, because Chepe is definitely not fighting guys on that level. He's, so give me Chepe Mariscal. Like, I'm not counting on Damon Jackson in this fight. This is a sketchy line, in my opinion. One of those fights where I'm definitely staying away. To me, I'm going to enjoy this fight, not having money on it. I'm just going to watch as a fan. Give me Chepe Mariscal to win off damage. I think that Damon Jackson has the output to make it close, and the grappling to make it close. But I think that Chepe Mariscal will land the more damaging shots in this fight. So for that reason, I'm picking him to win this fight via decision. And now it's time for the main event, guys. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We have a rematch. We have Marcin Tybura versus Serghei Spivac. Tybura comes in with a 25-8 record, currently plus 135 on the money line, while Serghei Spivac comes in with a 16-4 record, currently minus 160 on the money line. Now, this is a rematch, and Marcin Tybura actually won that first fight. So, Marcin Tybura won their first fight, and now he comes in as the underdog. You know, the book's definitely respecting Spivac in this fight, and I get it, man. I'm picking Spivac to win this fight, but I'm not confident, man. I'm not minus 160 confident as well. I think this line should be a pick 'em, if anything, because the way Spivac fights, he's wrestling, man. He likes to get throws, some judo throws, and he likes to get top control. And from there, he's really, implementing his game very heavy on top, very good ground and pound. But that's the thing. Tybura should have the grappling to nullify that. He should be able to separate in the clinch and definitely deny the takedowns in the open mat and not get tripped when he is in the clinch. So I think that it's going to be mostly on the feet. And if that kind of plays out, I kind of do like the striking from Tybura way more than I do from Spivac. Man, like, I just think that Spivac's definitely improved since their first fight. I think that his wrestling is better. I think that his clinch work is definitely better. And it's going to come down to, can Spivac get Tybura down inside the clinch? When they're in the clinch, can he trip him and get him off balance? And I think he will, man. I really like the judo from Spivac. It really helps him, get the fight down in his fights where he does, obviously have the advantage over many guys that he fights. But give me Spivac. Give me Spivac to win this fight. It is, a little bit worrisome that it's 5 rounds. At any moment, Tybura is, liable to knock this guy out. But I think that Spivac will land enough damage when he does get this fight down, or land enough damage when they're in the clinch. The X factor to me in this fight comes down to the clinch. Who's going to win the clinch positions? And I'm betting, or at least I'm picking, that it's going to be Spivac. For right now, I don't have any money on this fight, but I am picking Serghei Spivac to win that fight. I'm going to go with a 4th round ground and pound finish, if not decision. So a late finish or a decision for Serghei Spivac. Now I'll do it for this video, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.